Welcome to the Risk Africa Better Business Breakfast. My name is Harry Lowe, and although you had no choice in the matter, I'm your MC for the proceedings this morning, so please do bear with me. Our thoughts for the day and around the presentations are freight for thought, and some background to that is South Africa's economy is highly transport intensive with an almost excessive dependency on road freight transport. And today you'll be privy to exclusive insights into some of the shortcuts in the trucking industry that expose the industry to risk, as well as the latest technologies aimed at preventing and mitigating these risks. Some areas we'll be looking into include common driver issues, latest fleet technologies, regulation and enforcement challenges, infrastructure and economic considerations, and playing a more active role as an insurer. And I'm particularly pleased to be here because in my role as the MD of LTech Netstar, we are exposed on a daily basis to the solutions that we develop and offer to the trucking industry. Then, of course, a very big thank you to our sponsors, Insurance Underwriting Managers, the IUM, without whom this wouldn't be possible this morning. Thank you very much, guys. And that will be the order of the morning, and I'd now like to introduce Rio to you a little bit more formally. Rio will be delivering the brief background story of IUM as well as an overview of all the product offerings and services. Rio is the underwriting manager for IUM. He boasts 17 years in the insurance industry and has experience ranging from client services all the way through to compliance specialist. Big warm handeklap for Rio Burtis. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, thanks for your time this morning. I don't know who wrote that bio, but I'll find them at the office later. Obviously, just a quick background on IUM. We've been in operation for about 11 years now, 6 of those being an administrator, administrating for brokers, many of the brokers that we administrated for right in the beginning. When Antonio had the vision to start the business, is still with us 11 years later. And the last 5 years, we have been specializing on the insurance management front and being a fully fledged UMA. Our core is commercial and haulage, as well as some domestic. And I'll go through the presentation with you guys just to elaborate on that a little bit. And obviously, our esteemed partners, GuardRisk, being our major carrier on most of the products. Andre. So guys, what do? We try and add value. You know, nowadays, in terms of efficiency and in the ever-changing business world, the modern business world, where price truly becomes an issue in the absence of value, we believe in partnering. We believe in accurately assessing risk and in using our expertise and years of knowledge to the benefit of the broker out there and to the benefit of their clients to create sustainability and growth, which is the only way that we can all go forward, obviously. Brokers are the lifeblood of our business. Without our brokers, we obviously would not be here today. And I think it's very hard in the market currently for brokers. There's so many attacks, there's so many new risks that evolve almost daily in terms of business, and especially on the haulage side of business, that you truly have to have your fingers on the pulse. You know, so we like to interact with our brokers, we like to interact with our clients. We like to be involved with their businesses, because the further you are segmented away from that business, the harder it is to add value in the risk management sphere. So brokers truly are very important to us. You know, when we talk about dynamic risk management and the power thereof, if you think about just identifying risks in today's business world, it becomes a smorgasbord. It becomes so involved. And I think a lot of businesses are just trying to stay operational. They're just trying to stay alive. So where do they start? How do you identify these risks? Where are you going to treat them? Where are you going to categorize them? How are you going to monitor and review them later on after the treatments have occurred? Businesses truly are reaching out to their brokers and their partners for assistance in this. And I think it's important that we that are in the carrying portion of the risk offset mechanism understand that we are there to assist and that we take hands with our clients and our partners bring that about and to obviously assist them with that. That'll create more sustainability, it'll create growth, and it can help them to focus on the important things in their business, and that is growth and doing what they do best. In terms of who we have on board, our specialists, we've got risk managers, we've got Jethro on the fleet health side. So we are very involved from a professional risk management point of view in our clients' businesses. Even more so on the haulage side of business, and I'll expand on our haulage side of IUM's business a little bit later on. As our esteemed MC also said earlier, the shortcuts that are taking place in the business affects every single road user around this table today. So it doesn't just affect the truck drivers, it doesn't just affect the transporters, it doesn't just affect the brokers, the GIT brokers, it affects everybody that uses a road in conjunction with our haulage companies. So it's very, very important that we take cognizance of these things and that we assist where we can, obviously. Now guys, in the green books, I'm going to very briefly discuss some of the stuff. Our green books are quite extensive in terms of the breakdown of IUM services, and especially the risk services that we offer over and above the product services. So please do have a look at your green books, and if there's any questions that you'd like to pose to us with regards to any information therein, you're more than welcome to pose them at the set time. We have very efficient ways of managing change within our own business, and we have the type of expertise that is sought after in the market, and that is quite expensive, and obviously that's a nice silo for our brokers to tap into when they do struggle with some niche covers or with some speciality covers. Well, guys, IUM is a full binder holder, so obviously we perform the full bind or the full functions that an insurer would perform. Our quotes, we'd like to keep our quotes fast, accurate and comprehensive. A lot of brokers are entering into the market new, so they forget some extensions, they're not quite sure what to offer the client, what the risks involved are, and we try and guide and help them from the quote side already, so that when they propose to their clients, we're looking at comprehensive and holistic approaches. Our risk analysis, when we go out and we do risk analysis, we obviously do it against our national standards and our national frameworks, best business practices, international standards for our big, large corporate contracts and clients that we do have. And as I said, a lot of clients don't even know where to start, but we assist them with that. Risk surveys are always conducted by industry specialists. We're not going to send an agri-surveyor to a haulage client, that type of stuff, but we have various surveyors in our panel that we utilize for specific risks as identified. We do comprehensive underwriting, it's full circle underwriting. We do pre, post, and ongoing risk mitigation underwriting. And we share those reports and those underwriting outcomes with clients to help them to better manage their risks as well. We do reinsurance quotes and placement from our offices as well in terms of large contingency fires, accumulation risks and so forth. We issue the policies. We issue specialized policies, niche products, all the way from large corporate accounts that run into the millions per month down to domestic policies of 500-600 grand a month. Policy enhancements. We don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach due to the fact that we get very involved with our clients and the brokers, obviously, and their specific risk. So we do a lot of policy enhancements based on the client's specific risk, needs, and exposure. Whether the client is in the same industry or not, we believe that every client deserves that special treatment. Very dedicated in-house commercial trucking division that it completely focuses on speciality covers for our commercial haulage and our transporters. There's some very nice benefits in terms of that product which attracts a lot of clients and brokers to us. We offer full truck hire, for instance. We've auto inclusions of 10 million rand on our third-party liabilities with buy-up functions. We have got pretty much excess reducers on every aspect of the material damage section of that policy. And should you contact the call center during an accident 24 hours a day, we do offer 10% discount on the excess, should IUM be able to take control of that accident scene and the consequent recovery as well. So we don't want any of our clients to be stuck next to the road while their business needs to operate in Southern Africa. And as I said, that is a 24-hour call center that is in operation. We also have an IUM app that you're more than welcome to go and download, have a look at it, play around with it a little bit. We offer personal documents for your drivers in the cabs, including of their driver's licenses, permits, should that be lost or stolen during an incident. And obviously pothole covers as well, which is available on the trucks. And the lovely thing about the pothole product is that there's no excess applicable there. So guys, I want to thank you for your time. Let's get into the very interesting stuff and the exciting stuff that I've also been waiting for today. And that is the fleet health and the risk management side on the haulage business. Thanks so much for your time.
And I'm now going to introduce Jethro Jenkinson. Jethro is a qualified auto machinist. He qualified in that trade over 10 years ago and has since been actively involved in the automotive industry as a technical consultant and failure analyst in various key areas of industry, including independent investigations, automotive aftermarket, product research and development, automotive component failure analysis, and automotive component retail. Ladies and gentlemen, Jethro Jenkinson, thank you.
Be presenting two topics this morning. The first being our fleet health initiative, and the second being our seeing machines. In terms of fleet health, the South African transport and logistics industry has for a long time now been plagued by a very unfavorable reputation. This reputation stems largely from a perceived lack of regard to the requirements which are expected and placed on the transporters and logistics guys relating to the mechanical health of their commercial vehicles, the maintenance of those vehicles, their tires, the driver training, the driver experience, the documentation, the validity and authenticity of that documentation as well. Adherence to mass loads, loading conditions, loading requirements, and abiding to those restrictions. And then again, just largely unfavorable driving habits. You know, these guys just, we see it on a daily basis. They have absolutely little regard for the laws on the road. Now, to say that it would be the transport and logistics industry at large that is causing these problems would be grossly inaccurate. Unfortunately, it tends to be the negligence and disregard of a small capacity that is causing such a large problem on our roads. Now, the problem with these road incidents and these tragedies is, irrespective of their severity, once social media gets hold of it and our media platforms, the severity of these tragedies is just accentuated to a point where it's unreal. The negative reputation that comes from these incidents is exceptionally damaging to the transport guys, the logistics guys, as well as the maintenance industries. Fleetwatch, who we are very happy to have with us here today. I think he's disappeared again. Oh, there you go. One of their initiatives is their Fleetwatch initiative, which personally I'm a huge fan of. To give you a bit of an understanding, out of 10 trucks they tested recently on one of their N3 Fleetwatch setups, 8 out of those 10 vehicles failed roadworthiness testing for various reasons, including ABS connectors which were not connected or not even in place, cracked chassis, worn tires, missing wheel nuts, oil leaks, faulty lights, the list goes on and on and on. Since 2006, with its inception and 26 brake and tire clinics, of 574 vehicles that have been inspected, approximately 384 of them were discontinued. That is a staggering ratio. These are vehicles that are running on our roads, that are driving next to you and me when we're driving with our families. These are the vehicles that are going down to Durban, hitting Van Rieden's Pass and realizing that they don't have brakes. and taking out an entire family or 27 vehicles. Having realized the severity of the situation, IUM has now decided to try and step in and do something about it. Before we can start actioning corrective measures, we need to start identifying where the problems come in. So through analysis of market material, as well as the material which we have at our disposal, these are the statistics that we've been able to attain as contributory factors to the claims relating issues that we are sitting with on a daily basis. As you can see, 63% of failures and accidents are attributed to faulty brake systems. Now, I will elaborate a little bit now on what we mean by faulty brake systems. But 63% of these accidents are as a result of faulty braking systems. Here is a little technical session for you. On the screens around, we have the basic diagram of a basic pneumatic air system. Now, how the system functions is air will be introduced into the brake bellow, which will extend and retract the automatic brake slack adjuster, and ultimately that will rotate your S-cam roller in a clockwise and anti-clockwise rotation. With the rotation of that S-cam, the brake linings, the brake linings and platforms will either expand out or contract in. They'll expand out with the application of the foot brake, and they will contract inwards once the foot brake is released. Basically, it's the principle of friction. The lining will be pressed up against the drum when the brake pedal is applied, and that's what stops the truck. Now, issues where we've come across, which contributes to that 63% brake system failures, is brake systems where the brake linings are not in position, or they are worn beyond their serviceable limits. Slack adjusters which are not connected up, which means that the brake system is effectively inoperative. S-cams which are worn to the point where they are not pressing the linings up against the drums when the foot pedal is being applied. There are trucks out there which do not even have these components in position on their vehicles which are operating on the roads. Up on the screens is another monster that gives us endless troubles, our load sensing valve. Now, the basics of the load sensing valve is it regulates the brake force distribution across the vehicles, or to whichever vehicle it is fitted. Basically, when the vehicle is fully laden, it applies full brakes. When the vehicle is half laden, it applies half brakes. When the vehicle has no load, it shifts all of the braking force through to the front of the vehicle. We have come across vehicles which either do not have this in position where it was required, or it is completely disconnected. That throws your braking efficacy completely out of the window. Now, how have we identified a solution? Well, this is where we set up and came up with our Fleet Health Initiative. The Fleet Health Initiative is our approach to assist our clients via going out to the premises, conducting assessments of their vehicles, which have no cost attached to them and have no detrimental effect on their policies, on their relationship with the insurer, their operations, or any of their other fleet activities. During the assessment, we will have a look at the following things. We'll do an initial vehicle encounter, we do cab inspections, wheels and tires, braking systems, engine compartments, electrical systems, air suspensions, fifth wheels. We basically have a look and assess the condition of all safety critical items. The outcomes and objectives of these assessments would be to establish a positive fleet health profile with the clients. All right. The assessment has no charges attached to it. There is no detriment to it. We want to get out there, we want to help the clients and make sure that their vehicles are compliant with the rules and regulations which govern our roads. To make sure that their vehicles are compliant with not what IUM as an insurance solutions provider requires, but what the law requires, what the Traffic Act requires. We want to minimize the road incidents amongst the IUM clients, amongst any clients in fact. All right. We want to minimize the downtime that these guys experience from road incidents. The other huge factor behind this is when these vehicles are involved in the incidents, when that truck or that combination goes and lays down on its side, it's that company's branding, it's that company's image that's spread across the side of that vehicle. It's that company's image which is smeared across the front page of every social media platform available. We are trying to minimize that negative reputation by assisting the clients in this regard. Minimize long-term maintenance costs. If we can get the transport and logistics guys to understand that regular maintenance of the vehicles and regular inspections actually saves you money in the long term, because you're not having to replace entire vehicles, you're not having to replace entire assemblies or mechanical assemblies. You're doing little things on a regular basis, which means that your vehicles stay on the road for longer, they're healthier, and they cost you less. And then establish and promote a healthy and mutually beneficial relationship between the insurer, the broker, and the insured. Now, the points of importance, again, to stress the fact that it is free of charge. It is a service product which we're making available. There is absolutely no negative aspect. There is no detrimental effect that these assessments have on the clients, on their policies, on their operations, or anything that involves the relationship between us and them and claims. This has nothing to do with any sort of claims at all. None of our assessments will be used in claims procedures. The Fleet Health Initiative is not aimed at finding faults, but rather identifying areas of concern which can be brought to the fleet operator's attention, addressed, minimized, and hopefully eradicated from the system completely. And by ensuring that the client fleet is compliant in every aspect, we're efficiently making sure that, or effectively making sure that the client is claims ready. We recently done an inspection on a client where we inspected 11 interlink side tipper trailers, which makes a combination of 22 registered vehicles. Now each vehicle has 2 axles, which makes a combined total of 44 axles. Each axle has 2 brake boosters and 2 slack adjusters, which makes a combined total of 88 brake boosters and 88 slack adjusters. Now of the 88 brake boosters that we inspected, only 2 were found to be faulty. It's not a large number when you think about it, but it is a problem. It is there. Further investigation into the matter revealed that those 2 faulty brake boosters were the result of the vehicles having experienced an in-service breakdown and therefore required in-service repairs. From the assessments, we were able to attain that the guys or the field service technicians who were being tasked with fixing the vehicles in the field were not doing the jobs correctly. They either didn't know how to do it properly, or they weren't equipped with the right equipment to do the job. So now, as a result of these assessments, corrective actions have now been implemented within the company. Every vehicle that is experienced or that is subjected to an in-service breakdown and in-service repair will be brought back to the yard and taken straight through the workshop over the pits upon its return. And those in-service field repairs will be inspected to make sure that they were carried out to the correct standards and that they are compliant with what is required of them. That is the efficacy of the system. That is the extent of how we're trying to help the clients. Identify areas of concern and rectify them. Moving along now to our seeing machines. Sleep. Sleep is as important to the transport industry as diesel and maintenance is. Global statistics suggest that approximately 85% of all road incidents are the result of human error. 30% of that human error factor results in fatalities, with another 15% in serious and critical injuries. Now, when I say driver error, what do I talk about? I'm referring specifically to fatigue and driver distractions. The African region remains the least motorized region of all. We contribute approximately only 2% to the world's, or to the global vehicle population. Yet we make up approximately 16% of that 85% value. That's quite a significant ratio. Approximately 3,600 fatalities per day on a global scale, of which 47 of them are occurring in South Africa per day. In South Africa, fatigue is expected to contribute approximately 53% to all insurance losses. According to both local and international findings, as a road user in South Africa, you are at higher risk of being involved in a motor vehicle incident than anywhere else in the world. Going into fatigue, how do we describe fatigue? What is fatigue? Fatigue is basically described as a subjective feeling of tiredness. Maintain optimal cognitive and physical performance. Mental fatigue has also been known to decrease physical performance. Fatigue is actually a combination of microsleeps. Now, a microsleep can be anything between 1 and 5 seconds, and collectively as much as 30 seconds. The reaction time of a driver who has been awake for a period of 17 to 19 hours is similar to that of a driver who has a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05 grams per 100 milliliters. Driving in an intoxicated state being equated to driving with fatigue. The solution. How do we plan, or how do you address a situation like that? This is where we introduce now the DSS driver safety system, or seeing machines. How the system works is you will have a dash-mounted camera which focuses and concentrates specifically on the driver's face. You have 2 infrared pods which get mounted on the dashboard and one on the post, which facilitate illumination within the cab. You have a vibrating motor which is attached to the driver's seat, and you have an audible speaker which is secured inside the driver's cab. Now, how the system works is through the use of algorithms. A face mask picks up the driver's face and monitors his eyelids and measures eyelid closure. Any eyelid closure exceeding 1.5 seconds and 16 kilometers an hour, the seat will vibrate and immediately wake the driver up or alert him to the current fatigue situation. Simultaneously, email notifications will get sent through to your designated tiers of control within your company to notify them that the fatigue event is currently taking place and that they should take immediate corrective action to address the situation. With driver distraction, should the driver's attention be taken away from the road for a period exceeding 16 kilometers an hour and 4 seconds, the audible speaker will notify the driver to bring his attention back to the road. Again, simultaneously, email notifications go through to the designated tiers of control within your company, and corrective action can be taken place. The web interface, this is the interface platform from which the clients and users of the DSS system will be operating. It gives the client an insight into the days, times, geoplotting of all of the events, starting times of the shift, the amount of events per vehicle, per registration. It gives average speed, maximum speed, overspeeding events, stationary time. So the amount of information that the system actually provides is quite extensive. All of this information is able, you are as the user able to export the information from the system and put it into whichever platform your company is working off of in order to compile reports and data. We have a lot of the guys pulling the stuff off of the system and putting it into Excel, where they're starting to make all of their graphical analysis of what their fleet operations are doing and how the system is working for them. The manufacturers have guaranteed an 80% reduction in fatigue and driver distraction events. Through our field testing over the last 6 months, we have been able to confirm these statistics, where we've had clients going from 40,000 registered events a month to less than 5,000 within a 30-day period once the system went live. We are now able to confirm those statistics. Through the driver monitoring system, we will improve, or you will be able to improve operator behavior. Real-time notification allows you to intervene in real time and appropriate the corrective actions to minimize the road incidents or the potential for your vehicle to be exposed to a road incident. The ability to schedule your fleet operations far more effectively. Through the knowledge and understanding and baseline statistics that you achieve on the system through the fatigue monitoring and your understanding of which are your high-risk routes, you'll be able to appropriate the corrective operational procedures in terms of having additional drivers, scheduling shutdown times for the drivers to actually sleep and rest. Fewer fatigue-related incidents means fewer operator injuries, less damage to the vehicles, less downtimes in operations, and, of course, less potential for loss of life. Identifying and achieving high-risk solutions, successful outcomes that we've picked up, lowered risk in operations, increased operational visibility, the economical benefits, which include your insurance costs, your running costs, and your maintenance costs. Through minimizing accidents, through minimizing incidents, you are effectively reducing all of these costs. With the driver being aware of the fact that you are now monitoring him and you're monitoring overspeeding events, lower speeds means that your wheels and tires are lasting longer. It means that the general maintenance, the general mechanicals on the vehicles are lasting longer. Your fuel consumption will be lower. So your maintenance and running costs are definitely going to decrease. And the fatigue system will save lives. That is the objective of this system at the end of the day, to save lives, reduce incidents. That concludes my presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jethro, for that great presentation. Ladies and gents, we're going to break for a cup of tea and for two presentations which are going to take place outside.
Well, that will definitely wake you up. Where does the sound come from when they start?
The speaker in the cab, so we still have a speaker.
And then when does the sound comes after the vibration? And then what does it say? Wake up?
No, it just says either microsleep detected or distraction detected.
Yeah.
That's it quite.
Right, it's a fantastic option. Tell me something, do you include it in your premium when you offer it to your customers?
Well, we can give a premium discount. And then also we can give certain excess waivers in terms of single vehicle accident events and the time excess at night. Because obviously, because we've got the system in, reducing your risk profile, and therefore we can give these benefits to clients we're insured with.
Alright, that's fantastic, great. Thank you so much.
Our third speaker of the morning is Andre Janssen van Vieren. Andre is a qualified actuary working in the insurance industry over the past 16 years. To keep him out of trouble, he applies his analytical set of skills at Guardrisk Insurance as member of both the actuarial and underwriting teams. Waarom handeklap vir Andre, baie dankie.
Morning everyone, just check everyone can hear me fine. I would start with a quote by a philosopher, trying to show some intellect at least, and the one I'd like to quote is Socrates, who said that, as it said on the board there, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And you'll see this is quite a theme in the talk I do today. the first thing that I'd like to say is I think the world is changing at a faster pace. There's so many pieces of legislation or thought leadership that you can take on that. There's Moore's law on how information doubles at an exponential pace, but you don't have to do much. You can take a simple thing like your phone and just consider, for those of you who are, are around for now, if you can recall the first Nokia cell phone. Remember those big phones, and had the aerial that you had to pull out, and you had to phone, that one. Now that phone, believe it or not, was only 14 years ago. Nowadays, you've got all of that, and you've got all the technology in this thing. And I think phone technology is just one thing that we've forgotten how quickly we've become connected. The pace is so quick nowadays, we've forgotten, from the first Nokia phone to the changes in the iPhones we see now on a regular basis, the pace of change around us is speeding up every single day. I think no one is exempt. Even us as insurers, even us as a transport industry, none of us are exempt. I think the change is changing everything we do. And I think most conventional thinking is suggesting to say there's two things you can do. One, you don't do anything and perhaps you die. That rolling stone gathers no moss. As soon as you stop growing, you start dying. That's the first school of thought. The second school of thought says, well, you can change and you can survive. And I'm happy for you to choose any one of those. I'm not saying that you should take one of my choices, but I'd like to argue that there's a third choice. I would like to suggest that there's a third choice, being that you can change and thrive. Let's talk about a catalyst for change that we see in this transport industry. And the first one that has to come in mind is technology. Now, for those of you who work in the logistics industry, and I'm pretty sure Harry will tell us a lot about this, tracking devices is well entrenched right through the entire logistics industry. We've seen over time that cost to deploy them for insurance purposes or for tracking purposes has dropped rapidly. And I'm pretty sure, I hope Barry actually comments afterwards in a positive way on my talk, but says if he's seen that cost of tracking devices come down just with the normal production cost. The more you make of something, the drop in the production cost. We've seen it from an insurance point of view. It's come down significantly to such a point that when it started, it was too cost intensive to deploy it for insurance purposes, but now it becomes so easy that it becomes the standard and the norm. And I'd like to believe even the stuff we see today, although you start with it and it's very well priced, I think it might become standard fitted manufacturing fitting. What we're seeing today might be something we add on. Just think about a future where the manufacturers put it in as stock standard fitting, where your Mercedes-Benz has it in there and it wakes you by shaking your steering wheel. It's being tested in the US at this point already. I think data transmission has improved radically. We, as a society, did not have the ability to transport data in the middle of the Karoo unless you were plugged in some of those. You remember those analog routers that we found? Those routers, those things are gone. Sorry, my second career of choice was voice artist, but but I think the data transmission ability and cost for us as a society has changed the usefulness and the ability to deploy technology everywhere radically. My suggestion is we should try and embrace technology to thrive, but it's easier said than done, and I'll tell you why it's easier said than done. IBM has done a study a while ago to try and explain the complexities around data and storage, and they've chosen the 4 V's to explain how data presents a problem. And the first of those 4 V's is purely volume. And they say that data that comes to you is probably going to be a lot. And there's Moore's law that explains that the amount of information that comes your way doubles exponentially in a certain time fashion. Apart from the volume, I think the next thing that IBM has found in the classification scale is purely variety. In the olden days when you had data, it was ones and zeros and restricted to a specific Lotus Notes worksheet. Nowadays, when we talk about information, it is Twitter feeds. It is a photo I take of this vehicle to send it in for my insurance claim purposes. It's a voice file where I ask the other person, what did you see with the accident? And I send the voice file. It's an email I send unstructured with spelling errors. It's anything that you can think of. The variety of information that we get faced with as a society and we face as insurers to try and understand the business is changing in nature and scale, and it will continue to change in complexity. Right, the third one that IBM has used to classify information is velocity. So the speed at which it's coming is massively improved. It's going to get even quicker. Connectivity. If any of you have devices, you now get emails on a regular basis. You can download emails to your device, read it on the fly. The fourth one, and maybe the most concerning one for all of us, is veracity. Veracity refers to truthfulness or authenticity of information. And IBM has predicted, has said, apart from the type that you get, the volume you get, or the speed at which you get it, the most concerning thing is how truthful is the information that's coming your way. I think for us as an insurance company, we think that consumer needs will change. In fact, I'm happy to predict it will change. The only thing I don't know is what it will change to, when it will change, and how we need to respond to it in the right time. But one of the biggest future risks that we think in the transport industry will happen is security. Data security and cyber security. We see it more and more. Hackers are out there. There are people out there with exceptional skill who want to cause damage, malicious damage. We believe technology could be a catalyst for good change. Why? It will differentiate for us from an insurer the different operators and their risk management practices. So we can see an operator where they have responsible driving if it's appropriately monitored. We can see that through technology. It will help us to better tailor that insurance product design in response to their needs for transferring risk across. And I think we can do quantum leaps in the accuracy for our pricing. We've been restricted to the amount that we know from the fleet size, total sum insured, where is it. We don't know lots about where the trucks drive, when they drive, who drives them, how they drive them. I think quantum leaps in pricing will come for us if we embrace this. And I think most importantly for us at the claim stage is we have better technology to help us explain what happened. Let's talk about the second catalyst that I think will force change in our industry. Apart from technology, I think infrastructure. Roads represents one of the largest public infrastructure investments. In South Africa, it's no different for us. Okay. South Africa has in the order of about 2 trillion rand that it has to spend if it had to rebuild all the roads on our road. And surprisingly enough, if you look at the world, South Africa has actually quite one of the longest road networks compared to the entire industry, entire world. If you think about GDP, South Africa has less than 1% of the world GDP. However, when it comes to road infrastructure, South Africa is right there in the top 10. We have in the order of 750,000 kilometers of road that South Africa has to maintain that is used by our industry. So it's the same as in the transport industry. If you maintain trucks well, you can get a lot of service out of it. Nothing different from roads. If you maintain it well, you can double its life cycle. Bad roads is bad for all of us in different ways. So for instance, for a poorly maintained road, for freight operators, they lose tires and time. You cannot travel quick on a bad road, and you are likely to lose tires. And although I'm not a freight operator, I know that tires are extremely expensive. I've heard that losing 2 tires is equivalent to losing entire profit on an entire load. Just 2 tires. If you had to replace 2 tires, you've lost the entire profit on your load, which makes no sense for you. In the industry where we try and transfer risk from the transport industry into our area, we pool the risk and we make sure that for the few unfortunate, we can actually pay for those claims. And it's not helping that pooling of risk because the risk is exacerbated by poor infrastructure. I think for all of that, all fraud instances, we will see one thing happening, and that is that there's an unfair benefit by a few at the expense of many. And that is the unfortunate reason why we have to fight fraud. It's not because it costs a little bit of money, it costs all of us money. And that's the problem that we need to try and eradicate. For insurers, we would like to address, apart from everything else we've said there, we'd like to try and address the insufficient loss of use cover. I think sometimes we see some of our policy owners that do not buy sufficient interruption cover, and we think that's being underbought just purely to try and save on premium. We understand that consequence. We think the unfortunate few that have experienced that actually see the losses when it's too late. The saving on premium is small compared to the loss of use cover that they bought cheaply. I think we like to try and address the complexity we see when we have cross-border claims. It's easy to try and repossess a truck in South Africa. It's a different thing when you go into Mozambique, Botswana, Zim, any of those, to try and go fetch the truck when it's been in an accident, try and fetch a truck when it's been recovered after a hijacking. Very, very difficult. In the insurer space, we have more regulation change than we've seen in the past 10 years. And we've got our legal representative here, Suzette. And let me assure you that regulatory change on the insurance landscape is massive. And at this point is one of the biggest things that we need to try and get our heads around is how to position our business model to make sure our clients get value for service while meeting the ever-changing regulatory model that we are facing at this point in time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything I have for you. I saw no hands, but I'm happy to take any questions.
I'd now like to call on our last speaker who's been part of this industry for so many years. Patrick, I've known you for almost 20 years. You've religiously and faithfully attended every fleet management function. Patrick is so very, very passionate about road safety and the impact that it has on the drivers' lives. And he writes about it and he preaches about it. And I often get the feeling, Patrick, that nobody really listens to you very much. But I assure you, you have a very loyal following in the fleet industry throughout South Africa. So Patrick O'Leary is going to come up and talk to us. He's been in the trucking industry since 1976. During these years, he's been the editor of a number of transport-related publications. Apart from his print media activities, Patrick also did regular radio slots on the trucking industry and served on various transportation boards and ministries. By this time, he had launched Fleetwatch magazine, which quickly rose to a position of leadership in the trucking industry. Warm round of applause for Patrick O'Leary. Thank you.
Right, let's go back. We're not the first people doing transport. Okay? This goes back a long way. We think we're the first with these fancy trucks. By the way, I've been watching trucks at tour. I guarantee you that there would be 10 trucks at Porsche we take off a road. Just watching these things. This was a Boer ambulance. This was in. I got new glasses. I still can't bloody see. I must go back. 1835, eh? One of only 2 serving vehicles. They used to haul off the injured guys. Today they use helicopters. But that was back then. It was miles. Look at that. That's a water tanker. Today tanker services have got them. Okay. So there's a thing. And there we are, mustard. Where's the truck here? I saw one delivering clover just now in Douala. That guy's been living a Komatsu bulldozer. But delivery wagons used to deliver around town. Years ago. We're not the first. Jock of the Bushveld. What was he? A dog. No, his master was a transporter. Okay, we've got an unsprung wagon. Today you got air suspension. You got everything. You got wonderful stuff. Okay, this was drawn by 6 horses. Today you got 750 horses there. Horsepower. Drawing trucks. Okay? It was used all over the South African countryside. This is all South African. Before the use of the railway system and motorized transport. The railway system, of course, doesn't work again today. We've gone back 100 years. Look at the braking systems on those. Hey, fantastic. There was a braking system there. Today, have a look out there. It's the same principle. Okay, on that brake drum and inside there, same principle. We've got to break this thing. Okay, and it wasn't just basic stuff. There were great innovations. What happens when you try and maintain your vehicles? It's the same. They all fall apart. Okay, we're having the same thing today. You saw it just now. They're falling apart out there. Brings me to the worst trend in the industry. I think the standards in the industry are shocking. The worst I've seen in years. Okay, and anything goes. They're death machines unless you operate them properly, unless they're properly maintained. It's a death machine. But the problem is also our culture out there doesn't look at road safety as a body, the person. It looks at it as a body count. So what's the body count? Okay? Who remembers the Fields Hill Hollow crash? And I mentioned it just now. 23 people were killed. All right? 23. Those are some of the taxis and all that were gone there. 23 people were killed. And the nation was shocked, horror, outrage. Politicians got out of bed, ran there. Carnage must stop. Yes. Who knew about this one? That one happened on exactly the same day. It was here in Kempton Park. Okay, the driver's arm was found on the fuel tank of the other truck. He was dead. But the only place he was counted was in the body count. I want to ask any of you, does anyone know the name of any one of those 23 people who died that day? Nah. 23 people. Everyone knows 23 people died. No one knows the name. Was it Mary, Tommy, Joe? What kids did they have? Where did they live? No one knows. Just another body count. I want you to remember that guy's name. On every accident, every time you go to, you're dealing with whatever your clients, go do an audit on their fleet. Ask them if they know what their drivers' names are, how many kids they've got. And then you get to know them as well. Edward Detale was the driver's name who died in that one. He was 51 years old. He left behind a wife and 3 kids, 19, 15, and 4. They had Christmas without dad last time. Okay? His name was Edward Detale. It shatters families. Okay? Someone has to pick up those body parts. It's easy to pick up the body parts of a vehicle. But go pick up a body part of a kid. Go pick up a head and try and match it to a body. And I'm not exaggerating, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bloody war zone. When your truck hits a car or 2 cars have a head on, you are talking war zone stuff. Okay, that is a video. It shows a truck coming at a guy, driving along very nice. The other truck overtakes the other one in the mist. And it's seconds. That's how quick death is. Seconds away. And that's an in-cab camera, becoming very good. You're talking about technology. There's hundreds of unroadworthy trucks out there. I wanted to show you how quick a truck like that could kill you by just showing you that live video. We deal with real on-road stuff here, okay? We started in November 2005, the Brake and Tire Watch, to get a handle on it. We wanted to empower the police through training. They do not get proper training. They don't have training. When we start, John's there to back me up on this, and we have 80 cops in a room. We're doing another one next week, and we say, who knows what a slack adjuster is? There you can ask. If you don't know, you'll see it on the rig there. Who knows what a brake booster is? Who knows what a load sense involved is? The problems you're highlighting. Not one hand goes up among our cops. That was to show you the different places where we've done brake and tire watch. So we're talking national footprint, Joe. We're not talking a little city deep or thing. We've even used Centurion just down the road here. There's a test center there. These trucks riding past, we took them off the road. Randomly, hey? Just randomly select. You go and take them off. And if I could read that slide, I'll tell you how many were taken off in Centurion. We took them off here. We took a bus off. I said to one of the cops, go get me one of these big city things or whatever. Brought it in there. We failed it dismally. We took the engine bolts and did them off with our hands. The inner rear tire was flat. We discontinued that truck. Okay, shock and roll. There we are. 604 tested, 405 discontinued, a 67 failure rate. You put that out just now. Okay, that's the fact. When the RFA tried to deny it at one time, they said, come with us. Come. Don't sit here in your office. Come and see. They came. Their eyes were that big. They now don't argue anymore. 18 trucks with faulty brake system seeds. That was at Langlagte on the day we did Langlagte. We failed 18 out of call it 21 or 22. Some are looking really good on the surface. They look fantastic. You think, you look on the truck side there, that thing just going past there. And you think, oh, that looks nice. But look under the surface. The brake shoes, totally loose. They're hanging around inside the drum. Okay, look at that window winder. You see a window winder like that, you know something's wrong. You see a brake, check that brake, the door latch. If you look at that, you know that truck's wrong. You know that there's no brakes on that thing. And sure enough, on that truck, we failed at 100% on break-ins. No brakes, no nothing. The driver said, how did you get, that was in Pietermaritzburg. How did you get from Joburg? He said, sir, I don't know. I just used my engine brake. And I said, no, well, you're not going to use anything anymore. You're not going anywhere anymore. You stay there. Let's take a walk around and unroad with the rig. Yeah, I have Martin Barnard. And Martin Barnard is a professional driver. He's been off the road for 3 months now. And he was Fleetwood's driver correspondent. In fact, still is Fleetwood's driver correspondent. We're just going to take you for a quick walk around of what we normally find on trucks. Martin, just a quick one. How's your opinion on this truck overall?
Oh, the truck is in bad condition, very bad condition, unroadworthy. It's not safe. And we can somewhere do a quick 10-minute pre-inspection test. Doors. You can slam the door how many times you want. It doesn't close. Right, come let's go around. As you see here, there's a brand new gearbox invention. The gearbox mountings is strapped. So this gearbox doesn't got mountings. It's a new system. They put it on the straps. Loose batteries, Susie lines is not marked. Diesel caps is open, gone. Susie pipes hanging around. Down in the exhaust on a piece of wire. So yeah, we're waiting for this to fall off. You go down, your fifth wheel isn't locked.
Just point it out for us, please, Martin. What should it be?
This thing must come off here. It must lock in there. There's a small hole there. Just hook it in, so just make it safe to come out.
Can that trailer come off?
Yeah.
And potholes, if it hits potholes, at least I get it.
Yeah, I can jump out. If you go around, tires, bad condition. What the guys always do, they put the bad tire on the inside, the good tire on the outside.
Why's that?
So if the cops pull them off, at least the tires look good on the outside. Let's go down here. Like a spare wheel bracket waiting to fall off. If this thing fall off, goes into your car, you can have damage or death, doesn't matter. Okay, this side you can actually see what's happening here. The cone rubber is gone. Now what's going to happen, this thing is going to pull into the chassis, it's going to break off, and sometimes your axle can move out and cause big damage. Okay, once again, tires, bad condition. Come around, tires once again. If you take a closer look at this wheel nut, you can actually see this rim is not center. So what's wrong here? There's no washers inside here. You get the type of washers that pulls this rim.
And the wheel nut missing, of course.
Now what's going to happen here, that I see from my experience, that actually this thing can break off. And apparently this trailer was taken off the road yesterday, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And it's still on the road again. But it's a criminal offence, so it doesn't got nothing to do with the roads.
So Martin, basically you as a professional truck driver would not get behind the wheel of this?
No. Most definitely not.
Okay.
It's not my type of style.
And it shouldn't be the style of the industry either. Or players, any player in the industry.
No, but it's cheapies, man. Guys buy this trucks next to that, fix it here and there and put it on the road and let's go, let's make money. We're doing transport. Now the bigger guys who spends millions on trucks must compare their rates with these guys. These guys taking the work, and you take a proper rig of 2 million rand, that excluding, and you must compare it to this one. You can't.
So he'll carry at a much lower rate,
much lower
the market,
much lower rate,
but in a totally unsafe, unroadworthy way that can kill them.
And also from experience, what I picked up, this guy maybe had an accident or his truck is broken and that stuff. Then the people call me and tell me, alright, you must pick up this load fast. I give them a rate and they say, never! That guy's doing it for that rate. But why? This is why.
Yeah, why you pick it? That's one rig. Okay, now when you think of the 67%, that's over 400 rigs that we've done out of a 600 that we pull off a road. Some are worse than that. I'm going to show you. That's bad, eh? That's nothing. That's nothing. That's good. I'll show you. Okay? We're facing a crisis out here. Facing a crisis of standards and maintenance and that. Okay? People are dying. They're dying all the time. 15,000 every year. Now you guys are involved in that. 43 per day. Please, just let's stop here. How many at that table? 10, say 10 a table. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Can you all stand up, please? Done? Okay. So there's 40, how many people? 43 people there. Okay, you see them all. You know them. Do any of you know these people? Any mates of yours inside there? Or all the strangers? New business prospects. Okay, on the count of 3, guys, I want you to sit down. 1, 2, 3, sit. They're all dead by the end of today. That whole room is dead by the end of today. That's how many bodies are going to be lying in mortuaries at the end of today due to road crashes. Okay, this is an in-grab video of the Alberton accident. All right? Some of you might have seen it already. We could release that. I released it as Fleet Watch on the day because everyone was blaming the fuel tanker. There's one statement I'm going to disagree with you, where it said brake failure. Brakes don't fail unless you fail to maintain them. Okay, unless you fail to put your foot on the brake pedal. Brakes don't fail. There's 3 braking systems on a truck. You've got backup all over. But anyway, this is taken from the tanker services one, and the truck came in on the right. Here's the result. You all saw it, eh? A horror day. He takes your destiny out of your hands. Okay, and that's what happens. Anything goes. Road infrastructure is crumbling. We went on that other one, okay? Road infrastructure crumbling. You go fishing in front of your home in the thing now. Okay, when you see that the cows are grazing in the road out of potholes, you know we've got an infrastructure problem. When you were saying, none was saying about how the roads are deteriorated, that is called a tyre impact fracture. That's what happens when your tyre hits a pothole. We're talking about road damage and tyres and increased costs. On a bad road, your maintenance cost goes up 123%. 1 out of 100 code ECPRDB qualified drivers who applied for jobs at Mainline, actual real stuff. The screening selection process, only 7 were able to be trained. Not to get in a truck and drive, were suitable for training. Only 7 out of 100. The average is less than 10% on a selection process, guys. Right. That man comes from a truck. What I like about him, he's been in the trucking industry, now in the insurance industry. We need more people like you in insurance, by the way, eh? Who have the hands-on experience of trucking. That's because it's a different world. It's a different world from the officers and the road. Am I right? Wait till you Cinderella industry. That's what we are, Cinderella industry. I call it the Ministry of Musical Chairs, not the Ministry of Transport, because how many ministers of transport do we have in the past 10 years? I lost count after about the 5th one. Okay? We need to move from a culture of non-compliance. We are in that culture. It's overloading, speeding, vehicle maintenance, driver hours, reckless driving, driving under influence, false licenses, low securement, cabotage. Each one of those is in our chat with real cases. And a lot of you in here know those. Okay, bribery and corruption is huge. It's killing this country. It's massively killing this country. Bribery, and, I think it's one of the biggest problems in this country. Bribery and corruption. You can go out now and I would read, as you stop, you can see if a cop is going to bribe for a cell phone. It's killing this country. It's killing Edward Latale. It's killing Auntie Arlene. I hate it with a passion. I hate crime because it's killing the country. People can change. I promise you. We're talking about change. You can change people. We have the cops here. They have a lack of leadership. They don't have motivation. They don't have anything, but you can change them. There's some of them after training in Ermelo. That's the type of feeling, and there's some witnesses who have been on those exercises with us. You can see the confidence grow. You can see their pride grow. One of the biggest things that they ever said to me after a breaking tie watch exercise was, I want to thank you and your partners. No, to call them partners, not sponsors. We don't like sponsors. Sponsor SPCA, partners. Thank you for giving us back our dignity. You know, and that is where we need to share. And I think the insurance sector in the past has not liked to share. I don't know why. There are certain things you want to keep as your competitive advantage. Yes, I understand that. But there are things in national interest that one can share and that are common. Hijack hotspots, etc., can be shared in the interest of the economy and the interest of all clients. Can you act to change things? Yes. Nelson Mandela, that great man, said it's in your hands. It can change. Things can change. We've seen it. Things can change. And the standards of the truck industry, you don't want that for the whole country. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've given you some food for thought. I hope I've given you whatever. Okay, thanks.
And then, of course, a very big thank you to our sponsors, Insurance Underwriting Managers, the IUM, without whom this wouldn't be possible this morning. Thank you very much, guys.